I'm Jane Farnham from Great British Speakers, and I'm here today chatting to Britain's favourite maths teacher, Bobby Seagull. Bobby, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Tell me about your early school days.
So I'm from East London. You might be able to tell I've got a West Ham football shirt. I'm actually from the town of East Ham. So my parents actually moved to UK in the late 70s, early 80s from Kerala in Southwest India. They settled in East London. I'm glad they did that because otherwise I wouldn't be a West Ham fan. But we grew up in a council estate in East London, in East Ham, in fact. And I went to St. Michael's, my local primary school. St. Bonaventure's my secondary school. Actually, to be honest, it was a good state school for the area at the time because Newham is historically a disadvantaged borough. But I was lucky enough for my A-levels to get a scholarship to Eton College. And obviously, going from an East London council estate wearing Nike and Kappa and Adidas and turning up at Eton in those outfits was a surreal experience, but an experience that I think as a young boy, 16, I really just took advantage of all the opportunities. And one of the reasons is that I think throughout my life, I've always enjoyed meeting, mingling, mixing with all sorts of people. And part of it, I think, is attributable to every Saturday, our dad used to take all us boys, I'm one of four boys, to East Ham Library every Saturday. And we'd go there with a shopping trolley, mainly actually Mum would say to get shopping, but we'd go to the library, sit there for hours cross-legged, reading all sorts of books on Aztec civilizations, on Victorian engineering, on the fiction of Tolkien. And those Saturdays actually gave me the sense of, actually, there's so much out there in the world. There's so many people to meet, so many places to see. And that's why I think, despite all sort of different environments I've been in, I've always managed to, I was going to say take to like a duck to water, more like a seagull to water.
I like that. I'd love to meet your parents. They sound phenomenal. So you went to Eton?
Yes.
And then what happened after Eton? Did you go on to further education?
Yeah. So actually, before I went to uni, I started out working, I had a gap year. So I spent 9 months working in the city for KPMG, and that sort of has angled a part of my career in terms of working in finance. And I did 2-3 months working in a sort of youth centre in Muirhouse. And anyone seen the film Train Spotting? You know, Train Spotting is actually set in Muirhouse. So obviously it's an area that's back then, and I'm not sure what it is now, but it was like riddled with drugs and poverty and addictions. And my job was there to be sort of a youth ambassador working with young children. And that was almost like has defined my life because there's always been sort of finance and education. And then I started out working, before working, I had doing maths at Lady Margaret Hall in Oxford, maths and economics at Royal Holloway. And that gave me the foundation for my first part of my career, actually.
So tell me more about that first part of your career. How did that progress?
So coming from East London, and if you're a numerate graduate that's quite bright and sharp, actually, a lot of people are drawn to the city. So I spent my first few years, in fact, 7 years working in banking and accounting. So I was actually a trader, and I was like, yes, I'm a trader, going to make my millions. And I chose Lehman Brothers as an investment bank. If anyone knows their history, 15th of September 2008 was not a good day. To be honest, most people came out of the bank after it went bankrupt, carrying cardboard boxes. But I actually came in with a shopping trolley because I thought it's not good for your back, is it? You don't want to be carrying a box all the way down the Jubilee line.
Aren't you?
Yeah, so I bought a shopping trolley with all my goods, took it back. And I worked for Nomura as well afterwards, the investment bank, again as a trader. So I traded in equities and fixed income. But I took a sort of sideways step working for the PwC. They're like a consultancy, although I was a qualified chartered accountant. So my dad actually is proud of many things I've done, but the one thing he's most proud of is, Bobby, my son is a chartered accountant. So my dad's a chartered accountant. So like in Indian families, they love I think doctors are top rank, maybe engineers, but chartered accountant is not, probably behind lawyer. We're quite high up. So my dad's very proud of so I'm actually still Bobby Seagull ACA, chartered accountant. So I can do my own accounts.
So was there a watershed moment, Bobby, where you just thought, do you know what? I need to do something different.
So it's around the time I was 30, and obviously, people have these landmarks in their life when they're 30, 40, 50, whatever, and then they sort of reevaluate. So it may have been partially to do with the age, but actually at PwC, after I qualified, I took a mini, sort of like almost like a sabbatical, tutoring new graduates joining the firm. And these aren't, they're not children, they're 21-year-old, albeit fresh-faced graduates. And honestly, I absolutely love the teaching aspect. I found I was good at my corporate job. I could have continued it for the rest of my life. It pays very well. Obviously, it's very lucrative. But I found in the sort of education field, teaching these young people, wow, there's this new part of me that I've always enjoyed explaining ideas to other people, because there's one thing consuming information, which I've always done, but I love the idea of, my family birthday parties, Christmas parties, or meeting relatives. I always tell them, oh, I read something about Isambard Kingdom Prunell, and you know that picture with the where he's got the cigar, that's all manufactured. I love these little stories I can tell people. And in education and teaching, albeit it was teaching accountancy and finance, I found actually this is my calling. And I decided then actually I wanted to work in education, rather than corporate education. I thought, actually, where can you be someone that influences and shapes young people every day? And actually it's in teaching. So I actually went then, decided to take a complete change in career, and went to Cambridge to do my teacher training and trained to become a maths teacher.
Right on the front line. So you taught then for how many years before your career changed again?
Yeah, so interestingly now, I was actually filming Celebrity Pointless very recently, and Richard Osman said to me, so Bobby, you're a professional quizzer. I said, no, I'm a professional teacher, and then I do other things. So I still probably regard myself, I still teach part-time in a secondary school. So I'm still a teacher. And that, in fact, when I joined teaching, I was very ambitious. I've always been an ambitious person. In fact, my first year of teaching, which is, you shouldn't do this. No, if you're sort of thinking of becoming a teacher, don't do this. I became the acting head of a maths department. And when you're a new teacher, you're just getting to sort of grips with the profession and young people, suddenly to also have the responsibility of managing a department, curriculums. Not a good idea, but I did it. So I thought, throw myself in the deep end. So I became a teacher. But the thing that sort of changed my path, because at the time my ambition was head of department, senior leadership, head teacher, super head teacher, government. I don't know, they've got this government, I'm trying to think, the czars, education czar. That was my plan, to become that. But I was captain of my Cambridge team on University Challenge. And I was, so in fact, this might give you a clue. One of my fans made this. Oh, wow. University Challenge quiz book, yeah. And my team, we did really well. We didn't actually win. We lost to a guy called Eric Monkman from Eton College, Cambridge. But people love my energy, my enthusiasm, my knowledge, the way I included my teammates in a really cohesive way. I went viral on social media quite a few times during my series, and so did my opponent. And when we faced off each other, that probably was the turning point in my life, in terms of people like Louis Theroux and Stephen Fry commenting on Twitter, do you support Bobby Seagull? Do you support Eric Monkman? And then after a match, we were invited on The One Show, Radio 4, lots of newspaper articles. And then I think every year, Jane, on University Challenge, a couple of contestants go viral because they got some amazing knowledge or quirky outfit. But I think because I was a 30-year-old graduate, I sort of thought, actually, I've got this little platform and I'll enjoy it. I'll enjoy going on these television shows. But can I use it for something? And mine was, every time I had the conversation, they'd say, oh, Bobby, do you love being in the limelight? I say, oh, I quite enjoy being on television, but actually I'm going to use this to raise awareness of maths, of education, of reading, of teaching. So actually it gave me a purpose.
Gave you a platform. Brilliant. So that was how your TV career started then, from that first University Challenge? Yeah,
it was. Again, I never planned. I always loved television. Again, in my family, we love reading. We love television just as much. We'd watch Top of the Pops, Blue Peter, Biker Grove, Star Trek,
my favorite shows.
Yeah, Neighbours. We love television. We consume popular culture, as well as highbrow, reading things about the classics and Jane Eyre and mathematics. We loved, to be honest, I've been very open about learning lots of things. But that platform was unexpected. But when I had that, I sort of said, let's just go with it, see what happens. Because I always think nowadays, there's no almost like one job for life. The nature of technology, the nature of our society means that people have got to be prepared for so many different opportunities. And I just ran with television. And again, initially, Radio 4 approached me and Eric Monkman to do a Radio 4 show about the nature of knowledge. And we interviewed Stephen Fry. He was our first guest. And that was like, I'm meeting Stephen Fry. He's like a legend. To us, I want to sort of be like a 21st century version of Stephen Fry. That's one of my long-term ambitions.
I think you already are.
Thank you. Well, he supports Norwich City, so he's not that perfect. He's just,
bit of a clash there.
No, they're not a very good team. And then I actually wanted to publish a quiz book here with Eric Monkman, and then my own book, The Life-Changing Magical Numbers. That's my face. Can you see?
Brilliant.
And funny enough, they did this is the version. It's actually a book meant for adults, but they thought only kids were appealed by this, so they made a paperback more dark. It's the same book, but paper. So again, I published books, but again, with Eric Monkman, this guy here, we went on to sort of broadcast 2 series of Monkman and Seagull's Genius Guide to Britain. So this is where we got in a mini car. God, I had to relearn how to drive because Eric is the wrong side of the road. He's from Canada. So I had to relearn to drive for this series. And we went around the UK exploring cool bits of science, history, and technology. We've done 2 series of that. And then also recently, I filmed the quiz show, The Answer Trap. I'm the quiz expert. It's almost like Richard Osmond, but for Channel 4's quiz show. So like, I'm just going with the flow.
And it's about saying yes to all these opportunities, isn't it? Stepping out of your comfort zone and just going with it.
Yeah, I think in life, there is also a point to say no sometimes when you're overwhelmed. But I think, generally speaking, in life, what I found is that the ones that succeed are not necessarily the ones who are smarter or more intelligent, but I think it's the ones who say yes to opportunities. There's almost like I have a sort of phrase I've thought about. There's the window knockers, the door knockers, and the window openers. And the window openers, they'll look out the window and they'll see what's there. Is there anything there? Is there a car passing by? And sometimes you get a great car, it's a mini car, and you jump in and go, oh, I love this car. But then the door knockers are the ones that will just go knock on every single door. And most of the doors won't even, they'll ignore you. They're like, who's this crazy person? But occasionally a door will open up and say, you've got this amazing car inside. We were just waiting for someone to knock on the door. So you can sometimes in life, you're a window opener, you're sort of waiting for opportunity. But other times you got to knock on doors. And that's what I've always believed, just knock on as many doors as you can.
Absolutely. Tenacity is key, I think. So how specifically, so you've done at this stage of your life, then you've done lots of different types of presenting work through the success of the University Challenge. You've been still a teacher. You've worked in the city, you've been to Eton and Cambridge and Oxford. How did the speaking start? Was that something that just happened naturally, or did you specifically choose to do more of that?
So it's something that, to be honest, I've always enjoyed. This sounds terrible. I've enjoyed the sound of my voice. And again, growing up in a family of 4 boys where everyone is academic, everyone's got lots of knowledge, you need to learn to stand up for yourself. And in fact, my youngest brother, I like to think that I'm confident, but because he was like 10 years younger than all of us, he had to learn to speak up even more. So he ended up he got a scholarship to Eton. He became the UK schools debating champion, did politics, philosophy, economics at Oxford. Now he's trained to be a criminal barrister. So we have to compete with the likes of him. Yeah. So in my house, people have always had to learn to be confident in what they say. But the speaking sort of came up as a result of my public profile. People say, oh, Bobby, we've seen you on University Challenge. We'd love you to come and do a talk at our school, a talk at our business. And again, when I was at university, I set up a social enterprise that worked with the young people applying to universities. And that's a charity actually we set up called Oxford about 12 years back. And with that charity, we actually raised £1 million for charity. Sadly, it folded like many things in lockdown. But in that, we organized public speaking sessions for young people and debating sessions. So I've always enjoyed the art of communication. And the reality is people just, again, my family have always said, since I've had this platform to speak and speak at occasions and on television and radio, I'm still pretty much the same person. But it's just now people are like, oh, this Bobby guy, he looks really cool. He's quite energetic. So my family and friends said, we've always known this side of you, but now just a wider proportion of the public are getting to be aware that Bobby is a confident public speaker. He's someone that, again, I can be serious. I've done things like Any Questions on Radio 4. I'm doing Question Time soonish, I hope. But I also do fun things like Strictly It Takes Two, Would I Lie to You? So again, I'm someone that, I'm a serious person. I like to think that education, which is something that's really important, gives people life opportunities. So I'm very passionate about that. But I'm someone that, not silly, that's the wrong word, but I can take myself with a pinch of salt as well.
I think that's really important. So, to be able to step into lots of different environments and feel at ease is really a lovely trait to have. Now, I noticed that, your subject areas can span education, commerce, charitable work. So give me some examples of some of the subjects that you talk about and what you're asked to speak about. Yeah, so the sort of most obvious one is about looking at my life story and applying lessons to the way in which people can operate businesses, education, charities. Again, the story of, in life, obviously people have disadvantages, and you can either, I think, some people choose to I'm really upset about this, and they'll complain, and of course that's part of human nature, or you can do something about it as well. And my approach is always have an issue, have a moan, but then what can you suggest? What solutions? Rather, again, as a teacher, when I worked in banking, when I ran my social enterprise, my staff, etc., would come and say, oh, here's a problem. And I say, great, thank you, but what solutions? I think
my talks have been about looking at my life story and how I've managed to find solutions to different things, almost thinking creatively. And this is something, if you're someone that's watching my talk, it might give you a little spring in your step, because one thing I've always been is very positive. And there've been, like many people, I've had ups and downs in my life, but it's that positivity that I think I can bring to a room. And again, with education, I'm an ambassador for National Numeracy, a charity that focuses on numeracy, and alongside the likes of Rachel Riley from Countdown, Martin Lewis from Money Saving Expert. And I've actually managed to recruit people like Peter Sawkins, the Bake Off champion, and Katia Johnson, Strictly from Dancing. In fact, with Katia, we actually do maths and dance Instagram lives together. So I think it's like, again, what I tend to do, again, obviously, like, people look for what's a set talk that Bobby can do. But generally, like, because I've got such a broad range of interests, you can put me in an association of cavers, or an association of British insurers, or the Comedy Society, or the British Pensioner Society, and any organization I can probably find an angle, because I'm always, again, I've played football with Prince Harry, or Jermaine Defoe, the England international footballer, or hung out, or grew up on a really challenging council estate, and yet I've worked in the city, and I've lobbied parliamentarians at the House of Lords, done a speech there. So I think it's something where I can bring a sort of fresh, positive perspective to almost anything, apart from when West Ham lose. I can't find a positive perspective there.
There's no peace with that. No, I know what you're saying. There's so many people who stand in their own way, aren't there? It's about positivity, and there is a solution to every problem. And so many people sort of put a problem, you offer a solution and they find another problem. So it's about changing your mindset and thinking more positively, and, living your life that way. So what do you enjoy doing the most, Bobby? Because I see that you get so much positivity from all these different experiences that you've had. But what's your favourite thing to do? Is it teach?
Ooh, things I was actually in school yesterday. I was teaching some year 11 students. And I was thinking about this. Another day, I was thinking, I've got a busy day. I've got a few things to sort out with work. I'm actually in the process of writing a couple of new books. I've got to send off my proposals. So in the middle of the lesson, I was thinking that I was getting a bit distracted. And then I remember, actually, this quote came back to my head. Life is a journey, not a destination. Of course, I've got ambitions. Like, I want to one day get really far and Strictly Come Dancing. I want to be the host of University Challenge. I want to publish loads of books. But the thing is, you mustn't forget to live in the moment, because life is a collection of moments. And then I said, actually, stop thinking about writing your books, etc. Focus on the lesson, focus on these students. And the thing, ultimately, I love teaching. I love working with young people, because it sounds a bit cliched about the sense of giving back, but I grew up in a really sort of challenging economic background. But because of my parents' willingness to believe in me, I had a good state school, my education, I've succeeded. And I want to be someone that can inspire young people. Again, I can do it through television, radio, print, talks, but when I'm at the chalk face, actually, it's not the chalk face, it's at the interactive whiteboard face now. It's not a chalk face, there's no chalk. When I'm there, I'm directly impacting young people. So that's where I think, Mr. Seagull, I'm at my happiest, when I'm with students. Even though yesterday, sorry to my students if I got distracted, because I actually made a couple of arithmetic mistakes yesterday. And that's because I was getting distracted. I was like, no, what am I doing? No. It's 7 + 3 is 10. It's not 9. What am I talking about? So being with young people, inspiring them, that's why I feel like most comfortable.
And I hear you've got a bit of a penchant for quiz nights.
Oh my God. Funnily enough, I never watched quiz shows properly before University Challenge, but I've always read. So I've always had this, like, building up this like massive volume of knowledge for years and years. And since I went on the University Challenge, I've loved quiz shows. Again, I've won Celebrity Mastermind. I've taken part in Celebrity Points. I can't say the result, but you can assume I've done well. So I love quiz shows. But actually, the thing that I love even more than taking part in quiz shows is writing them. Again, I was host of the Channel 4 quiz show, The Answer Trap. And when I host quizzes, people often think, oh God, it's a quiz by the University Challenge. It's going to be impossible. But I realize quizzes, if they're impossible and people get 1 out of 10, no one enjoys themselves. You want to find that sweet spot where people there are questions that they get, they're like, yes, I got a few things right. But also things where if they don't get right, they're like, oh, that's a really fascinating fact. So I'm actually writing a quiz. I'm being invited by a friend to his birthday party, and it's themed on water. And he said, Bobby, can you do a quiz for us? So I've been looking up things on water, the fact that, snowflakes have to have 6 sides. If you see an 8-sided snowflake, that's a snow fake. So I'm going to put down one of the questions, like, which of these is a real snowflake? And I'll show them images. The snow is made out of water, H2O. So I think being the question master is something where my true Bobby comes out. Obviously, I like answering questions, but I prefer actually asking them. And watch out, Paxman. I'm after your job one day.
Oh, well, I tell you what, there's a good chance that might happen. I want you to stay on the line when we finish, because I'm actually currently...
Oh!
Yeah, so I've agreed to do a maths A level with my son. So we are currently studying at home, but I realised that I've got to get up to GCSE standard again, because it's been a very long time since I passed my maths GCSE, Bobby. So I might be calling you for a bit of tutoring, virtual tutoring. That would be amazing. Now, listen, Bobby, it's been so lovely to chat to you. I could chat to you all day. Your energy is inspiring, and you can inspire so many people from so many different walks of life. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jane.
And if you'd like to book Bobby, simply contact myself or Steve at Great British Speakers on the usual email, which is bookings@greatbritishtalent.com, or 01753 439 289. Thanks very much.